Welcome to the Dark Zone, an adventure racing podcast.
A really good adventure racer is really humble and honest about how they're feeling and how what's the strength and what's the weakness. So that's open-minded, just to be a team player and be able to know your strengths and weaknesses.
Well, for me, the action is the juice. I'm in.
I need you, brother. Sensei, please.
Courage, Bob. Courage.
That's it.
Courage. Yeah. Yes.
Thank you. Hey, thank you, Sensei. Thank you, Sensei. Thank you.
Say the word, Chef.
Let it rip.
Adventure Enablers, the leader in adventure race tracking, timing, and race directing, brings you the 2026 Shenandoah Epic Adventure Race, April 11th to the 12th. Registration is now open for the 15th year of one of the East Coast's longest-running 24-hour adventure races. Trek, bike, paddle, and navigate through Virginia's stunning Shenandoah Valley and the rugged Massanutten Mountain Range. New for 2026, multiple transitions that'll keep you moving and strategizing for the full 24 hours. Whether you're an AR veteran or hungry for your first epic challenge, this is your rite of passage. Push limits, chase sunrises, write your story in the wild. Register now at adventureenablers.com. That's one word, adventureenablers.com. Early pricing ends October 31st. So recently, I was introduced to a new product, which is the Nuatak Carabiner water bottle. It's actually a family friend is part of the team putting it together, and he shared it with me, and I want to share it with you. So the Nuatak it's a carabiner bottle. It has the carabiner built directly into the handle. Also, you can clip it to your pack, your bike, your harness, whatever you want to clip it to, and it will hold whatever's inside, cold for 40 hours and hot for 20. So long-lasting insulation. It's a nice thing to have in your pack, in your bin along the way. On top of that, Nuatak, is part of their social responsibility, gives back 5% of their profits go to protecting lands and lives impacted by climate change. So check it out at nuatak.com. That's NUATAAQ.com. If you use the code TheDarkZone, you can get a 10% discount and some free shipping. So take a look at this new bottle. Obviously, anything that we get from that code usage will be poured right back into the Dark Zone in supporting the podcast and all the sponsorship activities that we have around the sport. So once again, take a moment, check out nuatak.com. Take a look at that water bottle. If you like it, you want to order it, feel free to use that code, the Dark Zone. You get a discount there and some free shipping. And if you like the item and the product, let us know what you think about it. We always like your feedback. Thanks. Welcome to episode 144 of the Dark Zone Adventure Racing Podcast. This is your host, Brian Gatens. Fresh off my trip to the Adventure Racing World Championship presented by Subaru Canada in Penticton, British Columbia. What a wonderful, wonderful time. Great to be there in person with so many fun teams and great racers, great organization. It was fantastic being a part of all that took place up there. And I am home in New Jersey after driving there and back 8,000 miles, 13,000 kilometers. Goodness gracious. But we are back now in the Dark Zone World Headquarters, pumping out content episodes for you to enjoy. Special one today, John Karlsson, captain of the World Championship Team SAFAT. John is a wonderful interview, very nice guy, very funny, and a pleasure to see in Penticton and a pleasure to interview. And he goes deep on his experience and how he was an adventure racer, and he talks in depth and at length about the future of the team and what the future holds for him and his teammates. So thanks for being here. Thanks for being a listener. Dark Zone loves having you on board. If you like what you hear on the show, please like, click, and subscribe. Pass it along. And remember, like we always say, if you keep racing, we'll keep talking. Welcome to the Dark Zone, an Adventure Racing Podcast. This is your host, Brian Gatens. Delightful to be here. Delightful to once again kick off the podcasts. You know, we're at the end of the 2025 season, freshly back from the World Championship in beautiful British Columbia. And our first guest post the World Championship is the captain of Team SAFAT, Swedish Armed Forces Adventure Team, John Karlsson, who recently celebrated the team's third world championship. And it is great to have John on the show. Grateful for him to make time in his busy schedule. He is home and looks to be recovered from the race. So, John, thank you for coming onto the Dark Zone. We all appreciate it.
Thank you for hosting me.
So when we, as we spoke of right before we started recording, SAFAT is so much more than just the third world championship. There's a long history in adventure racing for you and for your team. So before we get into the details of the race itself, can you paint a picture for the audience about you as an adventure racer? When did you get started? How did you get involved in the sport? Tell us about yourself.
Many people get into adventure racing as their second sport after they've been doing some endurance sport. For me, it was like the other way around. I have almost breathed and lived adventure racing my whole life. I started my dream of being an adventure racer from when I was like 14, 15 years old. And from that on, I've been like trying to be adventure racer. And since like 1999 or 2000, I've like devoted my whole life to try to be the best in the world. So quite a long career, and I'm super proud of be able to say I'm world champion now, because it's been many years of struggling before we get to the point that we are now.
Well, clearly it paid off, right? And so 25 years ago, a quarter of a century ago, you came across sport adventure racing. You said to yourself, I want to do this. I want to be the best at this, and results are results. And you've proven yourself to be the best at it. What was the thing 25 years ago that you stumbled across that introduced you to adventure racing?
The TV productions, the early Echo Challenge and stuff like that. I was lucky enough to see one on the first episode. And after that, I had the military career, and it was a little bit close to adventure racing, and I found myself up being quite good at it. So it was one thing led to another, and I was really lucky to get, when I was really young, into a real team. So from that on, it was like find my call and trying to do the best of it. And also I've enjoyed it a lot. So the part of a long career is, of course, having fun.
And so you mentioned when you were young, you got into a real team, the word that you used. What team was that? What was your first adventure racing team?
The first adventure team called, it was actually Silva, not the Silva that was common from Sweden many years later. It was Silva was the sponsor that they are going, the Compass company. But they were quite good. They were like okay team in Sweden, competing at long races in the country. So it was a good school to start with.
And so that's where you started, right? You saw the old eco challenges. You knew you wanted to get involved with it. You were young, and it kind of lit a fire inside of you. Now, so you have the personal lean towards it, the desire to go do it. But very often, having a desire to do something and then building proficiency are two separate things, right? Like, I really want to play baseball for the New York Mets. That's never going to happen because I lack the ability to hit a baseball. For you, you had the desire. How easily did the ability catch up? Did the proficiency catch up? Did you have a lot to learn, or did you take to it naturally?
At the start, I was with the team as an assistant. I didn't compete with them. So I was with them as an assistant on long races a couple of times. So I quite learned from that perspective how the races were doing and what to do and what not to do. And that helped me a little bit when I start my racing career. And after that, it was like pretty much... try to learn and do the mistakes and then try to do it again. So it was really hard from the beginning, but eventually you get better as long as you keep trying.
Well, I think that's like a common theme, right, John? We hear that a lot with adventure racers, that very rarely does anybody come into the sport with a high level of ability, right? They have to develop things over time, and then mistakes are going to happen. And then that's a byproduct of growing as a racer. And if you can't accept the mistakes and grow from them, you're not going to be here for very long, right? Because adventure racing requires so much of somebody that they have to learn so much. So when you hearken back to the beginning, you said that you learned what to do and what not to do. What was something that you thought you were supposed to do that you had to change your approach to? What was a personal adjustment that you made at the beginning?
think one of the biggest things that I learned quite early was I thought that you should be like a good adventure racer should be hard, like push all the time, and it's almost the opposite around. A really good adventure racer is really humble and honest about how they're feeling and how what's the strength and what's the weakness. So that's quite that open-minded, just to be a team player and be able to know your strengths and weaknesses.
So in the beginning, it sounds like you overvalued you use the word hard, right? The ability to be tough and to be strong and to carry.
Yeah.
And you realize very quickly that no, like you had to recognize the humility being part of a team. So did that come to you as a result of your early teamwork? Like, where did your military training intersect with this? Did it come after? Did it come before? Like, because right, when you're a soldier, soldiers very often lean towards being hard, right? The phrase that you used. And it sounds like it might run counter to what your military training said. How did you connect all of those pieces?
Quite early in my military career, I joined the Special Forces. So there's a little bit different kind of mindset, more of like, it's not about rank, it's more about profession. More about if you're best, you're the one taking the decision of that special area. So I think that a little bit humbled me, and I try to approach that to the adventure racing side and to the team side a lot, like to be more professional about stuff.
And so you took the best parts out of your military training and you applied it into your adventure racing. And then clearly you were able to draw from those various areas, because to your point, to stick to who you thought you had to be as an adventure racer would have been really, really rough, because adventure racing is a different skill set than being in the military. And so you made that adjustment.
Yeah.
When you look back on those early days, right, and you said what not to do and then what to do, what did you learn about adventure racing that you didn't know you had to do going into it?
The one thing that we have been struggling with all my career is to find the line. And what I mean with the line is, how much do you have to sleep? Right. How long can you push with freezing? Right. How little stuff can you carry without doing it so it harm you in the long run? So it's all about like force yourself to be over that line and then back off to a part when you are be able to do it. And one thing that I learned about the years that line is different each time, depending on which team you are and depending on what environment you're in. So that's one of the key factors as a team captain, to be able to see the team that you're competing with now and how the team are going and where to set that line, because that line is always like floating. And that's, I think that's the part that made my career quite successful in the end, that I've been able to see where to draw that line for each team and each competition.
So when do you, so that's an excellent thing to bring up and to talk a bit about strategically, right? So before the race starts, you think about where the race is going to be. You look at the general terrain, the weather patterns, the expectations. Like you do your research in advance of that. And as we know, adventure racing, we don't know the course until very, very right before the race for the most part, right? So you have to marry your understanding of the course to the actual map and put that together. So when you want to determine the line, right? And I think that's a great word to use, because if I understand you correctly, you're not just talking about any one thing. You're talking about sleep, terrain, weather, athletic expectations, and you want to push yourself up against it as much as you can. Yeah. The in-race adjustment to strategy is very hard for a lot of teams, right? They begin a certain way and they go that way. Yeah. Walk us through how, as team captain, how you determine where that line is. Do you talk to your teammates? Do you do it on your own? Like in those high stress moments, how do you do it?
I think many teams look at themselves and then try to adjust the line and line after how they're feeling by themselves. I try to see the team from above, from a third perspective, and and make the decision from outside the team in my head a little bit, because sometimes I've been like the one that's suffering really, really bad, and maybe if I will make the decision from my perspective, I will be going maybe in the wrong direction.
Right.
And same thing is if I have a really good race and you feel really, really strong, you can do it mistake from the other way around. So it's super important to see from outside which how you're supposed to do. And of course, planning beforehand is one thing that's really, really important. Some years I've been researching for not days, for weeks, like looking in some countries, some races, some world championship, you have more information about different cities and stuff. And for one example, I had one adventure race when I had a couple of cities, and I look at so many thousands of pictures you can't imagine, just to be able to get a super good idea of which how the towns looks, where to fill water, how to the store, which open times they normally has, and stuff like that. And for many people think that those things doesn't matter, but all those small things make you concentrate on something else. And that's one thing that's really important in decision making.
And to your point, all the pieces matter, right? The work you put in before the race, which then increase your success in the race. And then in the race, you do that third view where you're looking down on the team and you're adjusting along the way. Yeah. You referenced a race with a lot of cities. You know, one of the challenges of doing the Dark Zone is when I talk to an adventure race and I ask them to highlight their favorite races or their best stories, it's like asking them to pick among their children. They love all of them so much. But if you think about it, like what is one race or one story that you want to tell the tale of? And it could be Penticton, it could be British Columbia, or it could be 20 years ago. What stories do you love sharing when you talk about your own career?
There's so many stories. It's so hard to tell.
Exactly.
But the world championship that I have most, one of the most warm in my heart is 2006, my first world championship in Sweden. That course was something else that I think I missed of today's adventure racing. It was super dynamic. By dynamic, I mean there was so much different stuff. It was different lengths of different stages. It was were like 4 different craft on water and like downhill bikes, and there was so many different elements that you have to bring into the sport, and that was one thing that I really, really like. Unfortunately, there was one race that we pushed the line too much. Mm-hmm. So we tried the sleep tactic was really, really low on sleep. It's one thing that I've done not almost all my career in all races, but this time we had one night that one sleeping bag got wet, and we didn't know that. So one member of the team had a bad night. So with 1 hour left of the race, we got crashed on the bike, so we didn't finish.
Oh no!
And it was
wait. Let's get that. So first things first. 2006. You're racing at home. Did you say you said Sweden, correct?
Yeah.
You pushed super hard during the race. You had a tough time with the line.
Yeah.
A wet sleeping bag, and then an hour to go, you didn't finish the race?
No.
Oh, John. Oh. 19 years ago, and my heart's breaking for you.
Yeah, and about that, in my training room, I have all my bibs on the wall for every world championship. And one of my friends who was here on visit asked me, "But John, why do you have all the bibs on the wall?" Because you have some of the races I didn't even finish. Like in Portugal, I get sick and I was puking in a bathroom and I didn't finish. But it's still the bibs are still up there, just beside the world champion bibs. And I said, it's not about the result. It's about every world championship is a symbol of me trying to be the best in the world. And that depends a lot to me. It's not about winning or losing. It's not trying to do the best you can. So I value the bibs that I didn't finish, not even as high as my victory maybe, but pretty close.
So what you're saying there is that your measure of success, while it's great to stand on the podium, it's great to be number one. If I understand correctly, what you're saying there is that you measure success far more about the effort you put into it than the actual final result.
Yeah.
So what's the reverse of 2006? What's a race where it all clicked? It could be a world championship or it could be any race you want to choose, but where did everything sort of line up perfectly for you?
Maybe it sounds like I'm making this up, but this past championship was maybe as close as I can do a perfect race.
Say more about that. Why?
Because we had the team did a super good by making sure that everyone had the same effort on their shoulder all the time. So we switching gears long before anything was close to be a problem. Okay. And we pushed when we needed to push, and we took it safe when we took it safe. And then also I did my favorite thing in the end, going 2 nights in a row without sleeping and just push ourselves beyond any boundaries that is almost possible. So that's a combine of playing it safe and at the same time laying it all out there just to win.
And then knowing, and to your point, the idea of the line, knowing when to go really, really hard because you had something in the tank, as opposed to backing down and catching your breath. And so it sounds like to me, as you talk about the recent World Championship in British Columbia, that this is where it all those pieces connected along the way. And then I'm assuming too, and obviously winning shows that strategy worked. So that was clear. Where did things get dicey during the race? Did you have mechanicals not feeling well, or did everything sort of line up perfectly?
I think every racer, every team member has always their ups and downs.
Right.
But I think there was one of the races when you don't have any problem from my perspective as a team captain. You just flowing around, maybe some routes decisions here and there and some small navigation, but that's normal. Right. So there was just as I wanted to all the time.
So let's get a little granular on that, right? Because when we talk to newer adventure racers and even experienced adventure racers, they'll have a navigational challenge during the race that they have to unravel. Yeah. Obviously, SAFAT, world-class navigation team, but everybody gets lost sometime. Yeah. What is when the team comes across a challenge with navigation and you're concerned about the direction you're going and all that, what is the team's behavior? Does everyone weigh in on a solution? Does the navigator take over? Do you go back to the last known location? How do you solve that granular problem of, we think we're getting lost?
I try as a team captain just to slow everything down as much as possible. And that's quite hard because often when you do a mistake, the normal feeling is that you want to take back the time that you have lost, right, to increase the speed and go harder. And I really try to do the opposite around. Okay, now we are lost. Now it's time to take it slow and just get back on track. Even if you feel we are back on track, continue the slow for an hour or 2 hours. And then when you are really feeling everything is still working our way, then it's time to go faster because the race is so long and it's so easy to just one mistake led to another, led to a third mistake, and then you're in real problems. So
I've seen that in races where we were in a race one time where we were in a mountain biking trail system and all the intersections looked the same. And we were lost. And then we thought we weren't lost. And so we picked up the speed. Well, in reality, we were still lost. And by the time we realized it, we had so much of a sunk cost direction for so long that the whole race just fell apart for us. And so that's the point you're making. So you fight the urge, the panic and the adrenaline to go faster to make up the time. You say to yourselves, no, we're going to get found and then we're going to go fast.
Yeah. And maybe even take it a little bit further. We're going to find the right path. We're going to make sure that we are feeling good, eating. Everyone is feeling good. The stress level is going down on the team. And then when everything is really good, not just like 2% good, then we can pick up the piece, and then not pick up the piece as fast, not hammer it, because it's so easy to just hammer for 1 or 2 hours, and then someone in the team goes too hard and starts puking, and then you are back in problems again. So you have to be more do it more like smarter.
Gotcha. And the idea too, what you're saying there is that when you're struggling with navigation, you think you get yourself back on track. You also take the time to do a little team self-care, a little food, a little drink, maybe look at your feet, and so you bundle. You put it all together, right? You bundle the experience of being lost into recovery, and then you plan on going faster, as opposed to getting yourself found, going fast, and then stopping to take care of yourself. You really use it as a chance to make sure the entire system is working successfully, and then you take off from there.
Yeah.
That's a great piece of advice, because I know that so many teams, when they get lost and they try to get found, they're so desperate to make up for that lost time that they go over the line. They burn too much and they go too hard. So talk to me a bit about in-race team communication. How often does the team, do you have conversation with each other? Is it head down and go hard? Like, what is the intra-team dynamic like during a race?
I try to be quite open about all the decisions in the team. Many of the decisions I let the others in the team take and also be part of taking. The only thing that I'm try to take for myself is that those decisions that I think is I really, really want to do it because of it's like, for example, if you have to hammer a second night. Right. And I see it in my tactic over the whole race. Then I have to this is my decision. I want to hammer double nights. But all the other things I try to speak with the other ones in the team because they are quite experienced. Sometimes it's often feel like me and Malin has taken the team captain role together. Mm-hmm. And then we have we see things from different perspective and try to decide together. And I think that's really good. I often have if I have a crazy idea, I often check with her first if is this too crazy or is it doable.
I like how you don't ignore the voice in your head and you say to yourself, "I'm gonna check with Malin. This might be a really bad idea."
Yeah. And often she say, "This is a really, really bad idea, but it's doable."
Because two things can be true at once, right?
Yeah.
Bad and still possible.
Yeah.
And so clearly you practice some discernment, right? You think a bit about there are decisions that are yours as the captain. You have to own that decision. And there are conversations with the team that it's worth getting feedback on them. And then knowing what's your choice and what's the team's choice is essential because it can't be racing by committee, right? No. It can't be everybody weighing in on every conversation.
No.
Our listeners were always thoughtful about and curious about food and nutrition. What does the team do during the race? Do you find food along the way? Do you go with powder stuff? Do you bring real food? How do you keep the engine going so hot?
We pre-pack quite a lot from Sweden, some products that that works, like gel and bars and stuff like that. Right. And then we buy quite a lots of food in stores like everyone else, like fresh food, some bread and bananas and stuff like that. But we try to bring so much food that we are not have to stop during the course.
Right. Because once you stop, the timing goes to zero. And nobody else behind you stops, so you run the risk of losing ground during that part.
Yeah, and then we try to stick with 2 to 3 meals on a long race.
Got it.
Just to be get some more energy in your body, fried, dry dry meals.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, a couple of times, but mostly it's like nothing like spectacular. I think we are quite normal in food. We just try to have so many different products as possible,
right,
so you don't get too bored of it.
Yeah, that's a big thing. Is we talk a lot about you need variety in your meal, and you need to have even different texture. Like the food has to feel different, the food has to taste different, and of course, supplementing with local food along the way is always nice too, because that's a nice mental break for your body.
Yeah.
So clearly, the idea of systems, everything has to come together, and SAFAT epitomizes that in so many ways. When you're at a race and you're looking around, and this could be any team it applies to, not just the teams on the podium, any team. What do you see? What mistakes do you see other teams make that you just realize that you avoid desperately? Like, what is the thing that you come across the most and you say to yourself, man, I wish they weren't doing that. That's not going to serve them well.
Oh, there's so many things. Oh my God. I see so many top teams doing and medium team do this mistake, and they are racing as individuals all the time.
Got it.
You can see it on the first stage. You can see almost every team. You can see which one in the team is suffering. It's super easy. And if someone in the team is suffering, that means they haven't equaled the equipment enough, or they're not doing it. They're just having too hard pace for the team's strategy. That's number one. And also that they don't have the right equipment.
So when you say the right equipment, what do you mean? Like they're too heavy, too little? Like what do you? Because obviously there's a lot of stuff in adventure racing, right? And so recognizing that team cohesion, individuals is one thing, but the stuff we carry is essential. What equipment do you recommend people to have?
Different equipment. In SAFAT we don't allow anything different. So if someone should bring one pair of socks, everyone must have one pair of socks. Okay. Our bibs are exactly the same, 100%. So that we know exactly. We don't have any extra. If we have extra, everyone has extra. So
that's for team cohesion, to be as a unit. Like so are you saying that by regulating and standardizing the items everyone carries, that acts as a cohesive action for the team?
Yeah, because if everyone packs or decide from themselves, everyone is going to do at least one mistake on an adventure race. That's
really interesting.
If everyone does one mistake, there's four mistakes. In SAFAT, we also do one mistake, but if everyone has the same, we only have one mistake instead of four.
Wow. Okay. So the point you're making there is that by standardizing the equipment and the gear across the team, you're minimizing somebody else's stuff breaking, right? So if I bring my own set of socks, right, and the socks are rotten and terrible, that's my mistake. If you brought your own raincoat that didn't keep you warm, that's your mistake. If Malin brought a different type of shoes, that's her mistake. But to your point is by standardizing all the equipment, you're minimizing the disruption that an individual error can make.
Yeah.
Okay. I've never heard that before as a strategy. Clearly it works because you won the world championship, right? So that's something that goes on there. Okay. I've never thought about, I've always seen the approach that everybody packs the stuff that they're comfortable with and they like that. But you're saying no, the teamwork begins immediately.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. That's an interesting way to look at it. And that will require a lot more. I'm thinking a lot about that because that's really interesting to standardize that across the team.
In adventure racing, we have a problem, and that's the way of how much gear we can bring.
Right.
By doing that, we make sure that we have as much weight as possible for the most essential things,
right,
like food, for example.
Gotcha. Yeah, to your point, like the idea that there are weight limits on how much you can carry, and what you're saying is if the gear is standardized and efficient, that leaves you more space for nutrition. That more stuff can go in the bins. Okay. You mentioned the idea that racing is as individuals, right? And SAFAT is raced together as a unit for quite a while, right? And so a lot of that unity is sort of built, it's hardwired into the team now because you're military together and you've trained together. What advice do you give newer teams, younger teams to build that sense of cohesion that SAFAT enjoys?
I think for once you have to be super open about helping each other from the start.
Okay.
And then also try a race as long as possible. Having like race is going to be harder sooner or later. Many teams start a little bit too fast, and then they get burn out the first 5 hours.
Okay.
So you have to be fit enough to have the pace that you have.
Right. Right. And so speaking of being fit enough for that pace, what is your training like? Do you work with a coach? Do you have a weekly plan, a monthly plan? Like how do you get to be as strong as you are?
For me, it's just I've been doing this for so long.
Yeah, you have a lot of base.
So my body is like I have all those injuries a couple of times that you get, and after you have a runner knee a couple of times, it feels like your body's getting a bit stronger. You don't get those kind of injuries. But also I have a couple of years when I train, of course, really, really hard. I like compete in the Swedish national mountain bike series and try to get my VO2 as high as possible and competing with the strongest in the country. But for now on, I think it's more about experience, like to be able to eat all the time and then know your own limits. I think that's the most that's why we are able to go as fast. So
I do want to spend some time on Canada, right? I think it's so fresh in your mind, and clearly the race went the way you wanted it to go. As you've spent these last few weeks thinking about the race and putting it together, and you mentioned before it felt like a perfect race to you. Tell us a bit more about the Canada experience. Was the course was what you expected it to be? What were the challenges you had? Like walk us a bit through that.
Yeah, I think also the course in a big time, I was a little bit disappointed about it. I thought this would be a little bit more, maybe a little bit more wild and me a little bit more rude choices. This time the course was pretty straight ahead. You didn't have much to choose from. There was almost like one line all the race.
Got it.
And also I think the race was quite dynamic. It was a little bit change of different stages, mostly because of this year's World Championship has more than one kayak stage.
Right.
That was good because many of the past World Championship have been like one stage of kayaking only, and often in the end it's just been more about the bike and run race.
Right.
Then I'm not a huge fan of having pack rafts as a craft only. Mm-hmm. I think that's making it a little bit too easy on the organizer. I say especially on lake paddling, I think you should have good boats. And my reason for that is like many of us adventure racing, especially in Europe, we do quite a lot of kayaking. Mm-hmm. And when you are having a pack rafts as a boat, you're not going to be able to do any faster than other teams. Yeah. Because the pack raft only has one speed. It's like having a bike that only can pedal for 10 kilometers per hour because you have to have a front ring of 20 or something like that.
Right.
And that's, I don't think that's fair about people that are good on kayak. They think they should be able to have a good stage on the sports that they prefer. But other than that, I think it was okay race. But I think we have to do if you look not just like in Canada, like the past couple of World Champ, I think the sport has a big job to do in the next couple of years because I don't think the sport has the course isn't designed for media. And that is a quite big problem. It's too hard for media to follow and get a good coverage because for somehow the many of the race course designers try to do races as remote as possible. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that's always advantage for the sport because it's so hard to follow.
And you and I, we spent the time together in Canada, right? And I idea that it was a big course. It was like some teams went over 900 kilometers and they were done. And there was so much of Canada that was worth showing that by covering that much land, you're creating a situation which people just have to blow through the land, right? And so really quickly, it became a race of attrition, right? That teams, it was a drag race from the very beginning of there, and you could see that come across there. And your feedback on pack rafts is really accurate. I know an adventure racer, and she loves adventure racing, and she hates pack rafts because she feels you don't really get ahead of it. It pulls you through the water, and that's about it, right? Unless you're doing a rapid section, which is a different story. But for a big, long lake paddle, pack rafts just act as these equalizers. No one really goes that much faster on them because of the way they're designed.
Yeah.
I am curious. Go ahead.
Yeah, and also the involvement of pack rafts is killing some team budgets because the pack raft is getting better each year, and then they force teams to buy a new pack raft every second year.
Oh, that's a good point.
So, and then you have to if you should do pack rafting, I think you should, as a World Share, have a standard that you have to have this pack raft is the one that you have to have for 2 years or something.
Right.
And then if they're getting better, maybe you should change the brand or something like that. But as for now, we had a pack raft that was, I think this is our third or fourth pack rafts model that we're using. And still we actually should have bought one newer because the one that we have was 1 kilometer an hour slower than the faster one in the market for now. So, and I think you should, as a world champion, they're quite expensive to be a part of and stuff like that. I think you should have real kayaks.
Yeah, it's a good point. And it's to your argument there too, that the budgets are budgets, right? And this is a costly sport to begin with. And so having ways to minimize that cost as best as possible, plus getting there is hard too. You have to travel around the world, bring all your gear, do your lodging, all of that.
Yeah.
I am curious about your comments about the media, right? Because, I served on the media team and it was a fantastic experience. But one of the challenges of a big remote race, and I don't think Corsica is nowhere near as remote as Canada, is the only time that media really gets involved with a team is in a transition area. Because usually you're around, it's tough to get out on the course. It's tough to be there. Now in Canada, we had an amazing media team and they were young and they were strong and they were out on the course and they did a great job with that.
Yeah.
But it's a tough balance though, right, John? Because you want to cover the sport for the general public, but you don't want to turn the sport into a triathlon. So it's a puzzle that's hard to solve.
Yeah, but still, you don't have to. I think the course don't have to always look so good on the maps. I think many times courses are made for look cool on the maps, but if you are when you're competing, you're just you are where you are. If you are hundreds of kilometers out in the wild or you are 400 meters out in the forest, doesn't really matter.
Right.
So I think many courses are designed for looking cool on the map, not be able to be you don't have to you can make adventure racing a little bit easier if you are look at the course perspective, but the things that are going to happen is the speed are going to get higher. So the race is going to be as hard and as tough as always. That doesn't matter. So I think, because I've done so many adventure races that have been in cities, that's been one of the most rememberable stages we have done, because you feel the city and you are in a really, really nice small forest just outside the cities and stuff like that. So and then you have really good media coverage when the big rappel points are easily accessible for the media, and you have 30 spots on the race that okay, this is super good photographer places and stuff. You don't have to do it so hard for the media. So I think from a racer perspective, I think it's more fun if you see more people and more people get involved in the sport and stuff like that. Just being out there by yourself in the wild, and no one catches you and no one sees you, and all you have is the dot.
Right. And
the dot has bad coverage. You don't even have the dot. For half a day or two, like they've been in some.
It gets frozen or a tracker goes down and a team they look to be stuck. You're right. No, you're good about that. Yeah, it's a really hard sport. It's amazing is when you explain adventure racing to people, they're fascinated by it. They love the idea of it, but it's really very hard to follow it from a distance because of just the complexity, and plus explaining it is really hard. No, but I think your points are well taken around that. There's a balance between building a course that is media friendly and still competitive, right? Race directors should consider that in the back of their mind when they put courses together.
Yeah, I think now I would actually think I would like to go one step farther. I think we should allow the cell phones in some competitions, at least in some stages, because some stages for now they're so straightforward, so no one does navigate mistakes anyway, because they're like the stages are just following one route. So if you should be able to use cell phones, you can have like checkpoints that everyone wants to can be like forced to play a video with saying hello to the family and stuff, and then they can post it on the website, and then they have like hundreds of teams and everyone has personal message from the to the families in different checkpoints, and that stuff like that involves more people to look at the sport. So I think like the old style, just compass, alone in the forest with no media stuff. I think for the sports to evolve it to the next step, you have to start a little bit blank and say, how can we do this and make it more visible to everyone?
Yeah, I always thought about the idea of putting a camera out at a checkpoint where they have to record a selfie. They have to record a video and say hello to everybody, and then that gets emailed back to us at headquarters, and we get to push those out during the race. So I'm glad that you and I share that, John. That's a great idea that you and I have. It's the only thing you and I have in common.
Yeah, but also the new iPhone got satellite coverage, so you can do it even if it's in countries that doesn't have perfect cell phone updates.
Right.
So
yeah, you're not relying on a cell service.
Yeah, it's coming easier for us in the future, I think.
So, John, we've been talking for roughly 40 minutes or so now, and a whole bunch of different things. But I did pick up on some of your language earlier. SAFAT was spoken about like as in the past. So SAFAT's future, your future, 3 championships. What's next for you and the team?
As the team had the Swedish Armed Forces, my employer, as a main sponsor for the past 10 years. And when we started the team, we had a goal that we're going to be a world champions. But I think no one of us that started it really think that it would be possible. We all had the dream, but no one thought we were pretty far away from that result when we started the team. And all good things must come to an end. And from New Year, the team's SAFAT has no longer the Swedish Armed Forces as a sponsor.
Okay.
Like the things that are happening in the world, of course, has a little bit with that to do. But also, as you know, when you have a sponsor, you have a commitment for a couple of years. And after that, it's time to do something new and get some new audience on the company. Mm-hmm. So this is the last year for Team SAFAT.
Okay, so last year being that this past year, so January 1st, SAFAT. So the sponsorship's gone away. Well, I have to tell you, first things first, congratulations not only on the 3rd championship, but for representing the Swedish Armed Forces so well, right? When they sponsored you, every sponsor makes a bet on who they sponsor. And I think giving them 3 world championships shows that their bet on you was a good decision. But to your point, sponsorship runs out, right? And things evolve and things change. So congratulations on such a wonderful sponsorship. And we're sad to see it go, but what a great legacy you and the team have had.
What's in the future is written in the stars. We have decided that as for now, so we are not going to compete in the next year's World Championship. But we never say never about competing again. Both me and Malin has glanced a little bit on the future, and I think both of us can't look at Croatia and not feeling a little bit curious about that race.
Well, it's funny, John, because here you are. You're 2-3 weeks post Canada, and you're basking in the glow of another world championship, and you're like, yeah, I'm good. I don't need it anymore. But then that voice in the back of your head may start chirping at you.
I think Corsica is not going to happen, but I always like Igor's design.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Croatia is the one race that I think would be that kind of race that suits my styles of adventure racing that I like.
Got it.
A little shorter stages, a little more speed, a little more
that's
like
your style.
action.
Yep.
Different style. But we'll see. I think I haven't played golf for quite a long time. And I had a competition with my friends just 2 days ago, and I did pretty well, actually. So I think maybe that's the new thing.
Okay. So watch your back. Because don't go from adventure racing to pulling a muscle in your back. The worst injury is on your backswing. So don't do that to yourself.
Yeah.
So clearly we all go through these transitions, right? I've done it personally myself, right? A long career, and all good careers come to an end, right? You finish on a high note, and you process it out, and a big part of processing it and giving it its right emotional weight in your world is think about how you want to be remembered, right? And the work that you've done. And so let's start with SAFAT first. So what 3 words do you want people to think of when they hear of SAFAT?
I think I want them to remember us like the military team, of course, that was coordinated and always looked the same.
So clearly, you take a lot of pride in representing the Swedish, the armed forces so well, and taking such good care of your country, and carrying that around the globe, right? And to your point, the legacy of the team is exactly that, right? A coordinated, caring team that represented themselves well. Now, how about John Karlsson? That when by no means is your career over, but between your golf career and your break from next year, it's definitely on pause. Not that you won't race again, but sitting here today in October 2025, when people talk about you, what words do you want them to use?
I think people that know me a little bit more and a little bit more about my career and what I stand for as an athlete, I think they are remember me as gear junkie, the one that take every detail one step too far. Many years I have an Excel file of all my components on my bike and whatever everything weighs in gram, and changing small stuff just to make a half kilo lighter or something like that. And also the research guy that spends hundreds of hours trying to figure out the way to win, like solving the puzzle. For me, it's always like a puzzle each race. Which stage are going to be the make it or break it? Which teams are going to be there for which reason? I try to see everything in forehand. So they're like the tactical guy of me. And I also hope that my team members remember me as the humble guy that always tried to do the best for the team.
John, as always, thank you for all that you've done for the sport and for adventure racing. All the best, and we hope to see you soon.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Well, there you have it, folks. Another episode of the Dark Zone Adventure Racing Podcast. Hope you enjoyed John and hearing about him and his experience. And yep, Team SAFAT, their sponsorship is expiring, and they will not be racing next year in Corsica. So we will have a new adventure racing world champion this time next year. Going to be a great place to race. Look forward to seeing all of you there. Gorgeous course put on by Raiden France. You can't go wrong. So thanks for being here. Thanks for being listeners. If you like what you hear on the Dark Zone, please like, click, and subscribe. Reach out to your friends, your neighbors, your teammates. Pass along the link. And remember, if you keep racing, what do? We'll keep talking. Be safe.